Alright guys, good evening. Brian here with VetteSource again, completing or actually continuing our tear down of our 2001 Corvette parts car. Today what I'm going to do is follow up with removing two pieces actually. We're going to go ahead and take these quarter panels off and we're going to take the doors off. I was going to break those up into two different videos. Truth is there's just not enough labor involved in getting those apart, so I'm going to just consolidate those both. If you are just now tuning in for the first time with me, you can look up there at the top of the info card. You'll see where I detailed the acquisition of this 2001 Corvette parts car, and I've got a few more videos that I'll link towards the end, I guess at the end, where I show a playlist. I've got the playlist of some of the pieces I've taken off of this. The other day we went ahead and disassembled the rear differential, transmission, and torque tube, so you can kind of get a good look at that. So today, like I said, we're going to start with this rear quarter panel. We also did one more video just as an add-on of where I removed this rear bumper assembly here, took everything off. So what we're working with today is completing the bolt fastener removal on this one. You can see these quarter panels are held in place with these here. These are not correct fasteners, by the way. Somebody's been in here and messed with this car before in the 19 years it's been around, so it's got a few things that are incorrect. You've got to pull these brackets off right here. Oh, actually, I'm sorry, I already did take those off. So, took those out the other day. So we've got our inner fender well loose. We're going to get that out of the way. That one's out. And there, you can see in here, there's really not much that attaches these bumpers, or I'm sorry, these quarter panels to the car other than these fasteners. Get right here, show you guys the door assembly is here, and they've got some inner fasteners here as well. So real quick, I'm going to go ahead and get these incorrect fasteners out of here at the top. Take those off. And just throw those away because those are no good. And get this one out of the way. Sometimes, you know, these incorrect fasteners, when people are putting them back together, they just use what's readily available. So I don't try to ding them on these, but truth is with Corvettes, they need their correct hardware back in place because you'll find some things just won't fit correctly if you're not putting the correct stuff back in. So you can see here, this is pretty low stress, low key. I joke around, C5s and above are kind of put together like a tinker toy. They're really not that hard to get apart. That's why I really couldn't justify two videos here for doors and quarter panels, just because there were so few components to get out of the way here on these cars. So we've got that. And just so you understand, I did pre-loosen these. These were not as loose as they were. So we've got those out, and you can see here, that piece comes up and it just slides over from there, and that's it, guys. That's the entire quarter panel, again, in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. We'll see how long I can drag this video out for the YouTube algorithm. So let me get over here real quick and I'm going to show you the door assembly. Now I've got the inner door panel off on this one. You can kind of see the construction of these is pretty straightforward. I like the way it's constructed as far as the ease and accessibility of parts. I actually did another video about a month ago tearing down a door structure, actually a door, tearing all the guts out of it. I'll kind of post that link up at the top there too, so you can see that one, what's involved in there. But you can really strip one of these doors in about 10 or 15 minutes if you know what you're doing. So the way this door is attached here is right up here in the front. You've got your two 13 millimeters and two 13 millimeters there. I'm gonna get this vacuum reservoir tank out of the way so I can get in here. And as far as the harness goes, this is the door harness. This was a very big leap ahead as far as compared to C4s, where the door harness was one piece all the way from the dash going out. So this is much better. So what we got here is remove our clips here. Again, I apologize for non-clarity of what I'm doing as I do this one-handed. And there. So the harness for the door is now disconnected, so we can get to that. So I'm going to go ahead and take and grab my handy dandy power tool here with my extension. And we're going to get this vacuum tank out of the way so I get a little more room to get in here. Okay, got that off. Alright, that vacuum reservoir is out of the way, and that's still intact, so I'll save that for later. Put that in my good parts pile right there. And what we're going to do, just because now you've got different opinions on how to get these door shells out of here. These door shells do not weigh that much, okay? They're not very heavy, but what I like to do is just leave the doors closed and latched while I take these hinges out so that the doors don't fall off on me completely. And you always want to start at the lower hatch attachment point, and just basically, and because of the location, it's better just to get your box end in there to get these off. So, and you can get a universal joint, but you take the chance of galling the edge of the door, and I don't like to do that, so I'd rather just do it by hand. One good thing about the parts side of the business is I usually don't have to worry about paint condition or things like that. Whereas when you're putting them back together and restoring them on the flip side, we got to be real careful as far as patience, tape and spots where they're going to hit together against a painted surface, so you don't want to get into all that. So, and like we talked about before with the bolts on the C5s, they're all made of a very great material that keeps them from corroding and has that locator pin built into the top that makes them easy to get out of here. So we got one out. We're working on our second one here. And by going from the top, or the bottom up to the top, it keeps us from having too much force put on that bottom one and potentially damaging that hinge plate. Now, if I haven't talked about the hinge plate on these before, that's the one area where you're starting to see the C5s are just not built as strong as the earlier cars. Now, the frame, yes, they're strong. I've done a video detailing how strong the frame is on these cars. But on these, everything else around them, they did what they could to reduce their expenses in constructing the cars. So you've got that to contend with. So a normal culprit here is this hinge plate behind here will develop cracks behind these bolts, and especially if you're kind of a heavier person getting in and out of these cars, you put a lot of weight on them, and what happens is you're stressing that hinge plate right there, and the fiberglass is really thin and it'll crack it. And then you've got a door that's literally unrepairable, because even if you try to go back in and shore up that area, you're not going to get the same kind of results out of it. So it's one thing to consider when you've got one of these newer Corvettes, if you're going to invest in it. Don't put your weight on the door as you're getting out, especially leaning against that back edge, because you're going to damage it. So, of course, I talk good about the bolts, and then the bolts don't want to come out. That's basically Murphy's Law when it comes to mechanicing or wrenching on cars. Now, if I had my air ratchet handy, I'd probably just use that for this. For right now, I'm just kind of showing you guys how this comes out. I'm going to have to do this a little bit more. So let me get these other bolts started at the top. I'm going to keep you from having to watch me for 10 minutes take this out. And I'll be right back with you. Hang tight. Okay, we're back with our final bolt, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how, when I get this final bolt loose, what's going to happen is you'll see the door physically drop down, because the door, did you see that? The door actually does have adjustment on it, so that you can make adjustments up to the body and the cowl and where it needs to go, because everything still does need to be fitted, even though they use lasers and electronics to shoot the measurements. When they're building them at the factory, they've still got adjustments. They're just a car, just a piece of machinery at the end of the day. So we're gonna get this last bolt out of here. Like I said, this would go a little bit quicker with my air tools, but for our purposes, I'm showing you guys kind of the slow way. I'm basically expecting that you haven't ever done this before. You're looking to see something in more of a slow time than me just rant through everything. Let's see if I got enough looseness on that. Yeah. So we're gonna take that one out, and as I take it out, you're gonna see if I can do this one-handed. There we go. Okay. Come on, honey. Work with me. There we go. Okay. All right, the door you see is loose, okay? Now, I doubt very seriously I'm going to be able to do this with the camera on, but you can see it's loose here. It's loose back here. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is off camera, I'm going to go ahead and take this thing off, and I'll be back in a second. Hang on. Okay, back for the finishing, and that was it. So all we had to do was take those 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts out, 2 clips, and that door came right off of there. So here's our door sitting right here, ready to go to the next customer that needs it for the repair of their car, and we'll go from there. So that's gonna wrap it up for me today. This is a pretty quick, short video, but you can see how easy it is to get the quarter panel and doors off these cars. So tomorrow I may come back with a little bit of information on how to get these seats out of here, and probably use my other camera because this one keeps blurring up on me. I can see it as I'm making the video. But I want to thank you guys for watching to the end, and if you got any comments or suggestions you'd like to add to the discussion, let me know below, and we'll talk to you then. Thanks, guys.